Howdy, howdy. Cody here with Creation Outdoors, here with Cory, my brother, who you saw in our North Dakota perch video, and you might recognize Cory's kitchen. But today we're actually going to be making some snack sticks out of some venison that we had, and hopefully they're going to turn out delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We both really like snack sticks. They're expensive to buy in the store, so we're going to do our best to try and make some high quality snack sticks at home with some wild game that we had laying around in our freezer. Not really laying around, but in our freezer, left over from last year. So come along, we're going to do our best and see how they turn out. So snack sticks, that's what we're going to try and make today. And so first of all, I want to go over the equipment that we have that seems to be required for this process. We actually went to Shields and got some of this stuff just recently, just for this purpose, but it's something that we wanted to get into and utilize more in the future as we kind of get into this wild game eating sort of habit. And so first off is a meat grinder. This is a LEM or LEM meat grinder. And again, I'll put links to all of this in the description below of what we're using. And so we have this meat grinder. I think it's a 1/2 horsepower, number 8, I believe. And we have frozen or chilled all of the pieces that we could chill just before we get started. Moving on, we have 25 pounds of ground venison. Now you can do this, of course, with your venison scraps, but we already have this in our freezer, again left over from last season that we wanted to go through and do something a little bit different with. So 25 pounds of ground venison, that's ground with about 15 to 20% pork fat, so that's important. We've done a coarse grind and then a fine grind on this already, so 2 grinds, and we're going to do 1 more today in the process. For snack sticks, we also are going to be using this sausage stuffer. This is also LEM or LEM. And again, it's just a 5-pound sausage stuffer. We have a small nozzle on here for our snack sticks. And to go with that, we have our casings. These are mahogany 19mm casings, edible collagen casings. And these are what we're going to be stuffing into today. And then for seasoning, we got some seasoning off of Amazon. That was pretty highly reviewed, so we're going to give it a go today. This is Legs, AC Leg Inc. Custom blend seasonings, and this is just their standard snack stick flavor. So we're going to give this a go today. We were going to have some high temp pepper jack cheese, but that didn't come yet, so this is what we're going to go with. This comes with sodium nitrite, pink curing salt, and again, it comes in neat packages, everything that you need for 25 pounds. So on the back end, once we have all of those made, we have this vacuum sealer. So these aren't really shelf stable once we're done. They're good in your fridge or freezer for quite some time. Freezer quite some time, fridge less. Limited liability statement. If you get sick, it's not my fault. But we are going to vacuum seal everything on the back end so that it is good and safe in the freezer for a very long time. So that's what you need. That's what we have, and that's what we're going to go with today to make these snack sticks out of our leftover ground venison. So the first step of what we're going to do is we're going to take our ground venison, which we split in about half, and we're going to mix in our seasoning powder and our curing salt. So again, we're just going to do about half and half. And you can buy a big mixer for this, but we don't have that, and we weren't going to spend the money right now doing that, and so we just are going to use our hands. We're using gloves just to prevent stickage, and we're just going to do the best that we can with our hands. And maybe about half in here, half in yours. It seems like more, so we're going to go like this. And we're going to grind all this back together, which is going to help us with the mixing, we hope. Again, we're just doing our best. We're novices. This is our first time trying it, so let's see what we can do. So we're also going to mix in the pink curing salt right away. I thought this had one of those little anti-moisture things, but it doesn't look like it, so we don't need that in our meat. Now we're making these for us, in our families. So if they don't turn out, that's okay. And if anyone's gonna get sick, it's just gonna be us, and we're okay with that. But as a first go, this is what we're gonna try. Cory's gonna get a new glove, but for now we're just gonna mix it in the best that we can. And if we had our cheese, we would mix that in after this step. So we're going to mix in all of the spices here, and then we're gonna do another grind to help us mix. But you don't wanna put your high temp cheese through the grinder, so we would do another mix after that if we were adding cheese. But for now, this is what we got, and this is what we're gonna do. So, just mixing away. How's that glove working for you?
Fantastic, thanks for
Good. One other thing to note is I said that we chilled. What's the point of the tubs if you're getting it all over the counter? We chilled all of the parts of the grinder that we could, but this meat is also quite cold. We took it out of the freezer and thawed it to a degree, but there's still some frozen parts in it. And generally it's just best to grind meat when it's as cold as possible for a number of different reasons, and so that's what we're kind of trying to stick with today too. So cold grinder, as cold as possible, and cold meat, cold enough that you can, that it stays cold, but warm enough or thawed enough that you can actually work with it. This is an unbiased review of the seasoning and all of this equipment. Like I said, we just went to Shields and got this stuff, and like I said, ordered the spices off Amazon. So we will give you feedback on how we think it works as we go. Now, because we split this apart and we didn't really measure and we're doing things a little bit sloppy, we're gonna feed some of this tub, the one that I mixed, and then some of the tub that Cory mixed, kind of back to back, alternating, just so that we, again, mix everything as well as possible. We mix the seasonings by hand as well as possible, and now we're gonna go through and we're gonna grind on our finest grinding plate. So, without further ado, let's get rolling and see how this guy works. So as I mentioned in the beginning, this is between 15 and 20% pork fat mixed with our venison. And 2 to 3 grinds is nice for this because we want to make sure that everything is pretty homogeneous. We don't want any big chunks of fat or just pieces of meat in there that aren't really mixed up well, especially for a snack stick, because you want that homogeneous mixture of meat in your stick. So 3 grinds, again, just to mix the spices in, but also just to make this nice homogeneous mixture for a good end product, we hope. Any notes on the grinder?
Works good.
It works well. I can see why people spend money on something a little bit more towards commercial grade, but for our purpose it works well. It's just a little bit slow. You have to be patient with it, but it works okay. It's better than what we had before, which was nothing. So, pretty good in that regard. As you can see, we're getting to the limit of our tub, but this is the last of our 25 pounds of venison that we seasoned and put through another coarse grind. And then end goal is we're going to use that stuffer over there and try and make some delicious snack sticks out of the deer that we've gotten. So instead of buying them for $12 a pound, we make our own.
Feel it?
It does definitely get warm, but that's why you start with everything as cold as possible. There's a lot of friction going on. So there we go, 25 pounds seasoned venison, ground again. Ready? Okay, on to the next step. Next step, 25 pounds of ground. In order to get it through our 5-pound sausage stuffer into the casings, we need to mix some water in with it just to loosen it up and make it the right consistency for stuffing. So that's what we're going to do now. So a good rule of thumb is to start with about 2 cups of water, maybe more, maybe less, for 25 pounds of meat. So that's where we're going to go with, again, just because this is our first time, and we're going to see what we're going to do. And we're going to try and mix this in to this overfilled tub and make Cory's kitchen really messy. So while I'm mixing this in, Cory's going to put on our edible college casing onto, that's the 1/2-inch nozzle for the sausage stuffer. So we got our meat mixed with the water to a consistency where we think it's gonna go through here. Again, trial and error. And we're gonna load up the sausage stuffer best we can. And we'll give this a go. Give that a start. So we have this bolted down to the edge of the countertop just for the sake of sturdiness. A little bit more, I think. And it has this air valve up top so that you don't get a whole bunch of air into your casing, which is the issue that we're running into right now. Whoa, there's an air pocket.
What do we do about such
Well,
situation?
it's filling. There we go. There we go. That's better. It's not great, but we're learning as we go. Oh, that's the end. That's the end. Yeah, there you go. Back it off.
I didn't know what you meant by that's the end.
That's the end. Just what I said.
How did we not get more on there?
I don't know. You're the one that put the case
I
in.
don't know.
Okay, so there's some quirks with the stuffer that we haven't figured out quite yet. There you go. Ideally, we would have left a little bit more on the end than that core.
Right.
So that we can tie a knot in the casing to close this up. So we're going to pinch some out. So there we go. Our first snack stick that we've ever made. We've got a little bit tighter over here, looser over here. There's some air in it. But we did our best. We're going to see how this smokes up and tastes at the end. But for now, that's kind of successful, I would say. We're at
3 hours later.
In reality, about 3 hours. As you can see, we've had some practice. We got quite the mountain of snack sticks here, and not all of them are the same level of pressure inside the casing, but we'll see what works and what doesn't with the end product. So we're adding the last little bit of our venison here to our sausage stuffer, and then we're going to go through the entire process now that we obviously have had quite a bit of practice. Cory seems to be the master of putting the casing on, so he's going to walk you through that now that he dropped the edible casing on the floor. But what we found is crank down the stuffer to the point where it's locked in, at least, just to keep this solid. And Cory's got a trick.
Typically, you just grab an end and pretty much stretch it out all the way around a couple times. Otherwise, they don't like to go on. And then you do.
And we've just been cutting it, giving ourselves a little bit of slack. Tying a knot in the end, and then threading the rest of that on. And now the air valve on this one isn't great. I would say in terms of an honest review, it's not the greatest thing, but we're making do. As you can hear, the air is now coming out, getting down, and now we're filling the casing. Maybe, there we go. And so this is where the tension comes in as to how much you actually get in there. And this is where we're not great yet, but we're trying. And stop. And stop with a little bit to the end, relieve the pressure by cranking the wheel backwards. And then again, a quick knot. And there we go. Trim that off a little bit. And we'll add it to our mountain, which is about ready to go on the smoker. So reference, here's your amount of snack sticks for 25 pounds of venison. So to make them edible, we're gonna put them on the Traeger pellet smoker. We're gonna start at 165 for 2 hours and then bump it up to 185 for 2 hours. And then if need be, we'll go higher than that. But we're gonna cook these to an internal temperature of 165, and then they will be done and ready for eating. We're gonna have to do multiple batches just because we had a whole lot, but just to reiterate, 165 for 2 hours, 185 for 2 hours until the internal temp of the meat stick is 165, and then we'll pull it off then. So patience is the name of the game when we're doing this much, but we'll come back when they're ready. So some time has passed, obviously, and we have reached internal temperature of about 165. Varies a little bit because there are different thicknesses, so we're going to pull them off. And as you can see, Cory has an ice water bath here, and so we're going to throw them from the Traeger directly in the ice water bath to give them a nice shock, cool right away. We'll leave them in this for about 15 minutes before transferring them to the fridge overnight to cool. So let's see what we got. They smell good. A bit long for a little bit long for our ice water bath.
Are they hot?
They are hot. Works about as well as you would expect here. I don't really see any that exploded. They look good. And we peeked on them earlier and saw that the color definitely changed to a more red color, which is good, as you would expect. Burning Cory's arm. So we're a little bit resituated. As you can see, we ended up doing 2 ice baths. And like I said, we're just gonna leave them in here for 15 minutes, get that casing really well set and get them kind of cooled down pretty rapidly. And then we're gonna put them in a cookie sheet in the fridge overnight, or a cookie cooling rack would maybe even be better. And then tomorrow we will try them out, portion them, and put them in vacuum seal bags to store for the future. Next day, here we are, and this is our final product. The smoke went pretty well overall, but it seems like if there was any issue with anything, it was that we understuffed them a little bit. I think that caused more issues than anything in terms of overstuffing and casings exploding. So now we know for next time that you can really stuff them pretty full and you're not going to run into any issues there. So Cory is cutting up what we have from one batch, and we've cut up what we have from another batch, and we're going to do some tasting here and give you our tasting notes and see what we think. Are you ready? Want to try one? Cory? Got one? What do you think?
Well,
They're good. I think the texture is good. I think they taste good. They're kind of a standard snack stick flavor, which is good, which is exactly what we put in. So about what you'd expect, not bad at all. The casing's good in terms of chew and consistency. They're not mealy at all. I think next time, do something to pizzazz it up a little bit more. What do you think? You agree?
A little cheese, a little other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, a little cheese, a little different spice, a little other stuff, but they're good. First run, very good. So I'm gonna put this aside and we're gonna finish up what we're doing here. So in order to preserve these, because they're not really stable at room temperature, we're gonna put them in vacuum seal bags. We have this Nesco vacuum sealer, and what we're doing, pretty simple, is just loading the bag with one flat layer. And because we're not measuring or cutting these all evenly, we're just kind of doing what we can here. Oops. So we're just doing one layer of sticks. Good hearty serving size. Putting it in our vacuum sealer. And we're actually doing a double seal. I like doing a double seal on both ends. Whether your vacuum sealer can do a double seal or not, just do 2 seals. That's just my general principle. We're gonna do our vacuum seal. We're gonna let this seal. This takes a little bit longer to seal than some other ones. Again, just because it's doing 2 seals back to back, so you have to be a little bit patient. 3. Does a little countdown on the top, so you get anxious about it. And there we go. And that is our preserved snack stick product. We've got a couple other bags here that we've done. And we're gonna just drop these in our freezer and pull them out when we want a delicious venison preserved meat stick. So with that, that's what we got. Overall, I would say this is our first try. It went really well. We're definitely going to be doing more of this in the future. Definitely take some time, so be patient and enjoy the process of putting your own meat in the freezer. So if you have any questions about any of the gear that we used to make these snack sticks, again, check the description. I'll put the links of everything there. Or just drop a comment and I will answer your questions very quickly. And do the best I can to also guide you through this process if you want to do the same thing. So with that, I appreciate your time and thank you for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.
no, we're just making it look like beginners so you guys know what to expect, obviously.